A piece of the family. I wanted to share with you all what I've been working on, what I had going on, and why, even though I take a lot of time now when it comes to posting. We living in a very interesting times that I can honestly say, that was predicted, right? As a futurist, I've done my job. As a thought leader, I've done my job. And I appreciate y'all rocking with me as your brother. You feel me? As your big brother. You know what I'm talking about? Because the goal has always been to help give guidance for those who don't have that. I remember when my older brother gave me some guidance one time, and it's the reason I have my freedom to this day, and I always talk about how a lot of us don't have older brothers, you understand me, that can give them some guidance. So I always wanted to be the big brother to the culture in that regard. And so I went from the little brother to the culture to the big brother from the culture, because we're growing and we're developing. And everything that I do has a meaning, right? And everything that we're working on. What's up with you, Mike CC? You feel me? And one of the things we're working on right now is this cognitive renaissance. So what is that? And the question becomes, and been coming up to me, is revolution or renaissance. And I'm working on building out a completely new world, a completely new business, and a completely new brand. And it's always a journey doing that because, number one, right, I've been building all my businesses, all my brands in front of the people, right? From the Crown Society, from the Goldwater to High Level Conversations, right? And now we're going with Supermind and even, of course, High Level Media. And all of our blueprints have always been ahead of their time, and that's mostly because we were forced to. We were forced to go an organic route. We was forced to go a non-corporate route. We was forced to develop strategies of the future now that everybody is using, and they're making it seem like it's so special, right? Where everybody is figuring out how do you create a product with viability, right? How do you do world building? You do creator founders and all of these new key terms for essentially the blueprint that we generated. You know what I mean? We've been a blueprint for that for a very long time. And it's cool to see society and the world catch up because I've literally been teaching this blueprint, right, for the last 10 years. So why now doing the Supermind brand with the mushroom coffee, right? And as I've been studying the shifts, micro and macro shifts of things that's happening in society. And, we've been keeping people on the cutting edge of technology like blockchain, Web3, cryptocurrency, right? NFTs, AR, VR, spatial reality, right? Artificial intelligence, prompting, et cetera, et cetera. I can go on and on and on the list. And we've definitely been given the guidance that's been necessary for people to execute on, right? And stay ahead of the curve. And so I'm looking at it now, I'm like, all right, is the goal now to give them more advice specifically on technology when I think technology is just going to continue to advance and there's no point of trying to keep up with it. Now the game changes because now that we have new technology, we're going to have to think differently, right? And so that means cognition changes, right? In a space to where the world feels like it's rushing and it's coming at you and things are advancing and evolving faster than most minds can keep up. What do? That's when you focus internal on self. That's when you focus on your own mental clarity and your own vision and ideas, because you don't need to keep up with every AI tool. That's foolish, and that sets you up for failure because you'll always be behind. Instead, you focus on clarity of your vision, right? And I want you to think at the highest level of your vision as if there are no roadblocks, where finances are not your issue, access is not your issue, technology is not your issue, people is not your issue. So then what will you do? And what you find out is most people can't think like that because they're buried under realistic thinking, right? Because you've been stuck in survival mode so much that it's hard for you to get to realistic thinking. I mean, how do you get to that higher thinking? Because you've been stuck and told to think realistic so long. So even when you try to imagine, right, the greatest version of an idea that's limitless, it's hard for you to do. It takes practice. It's a muscle to get back your creativity and your imagination. So cognition in the future is going to be one of the hardest things, and people don't realize that the mind is such a powerful place that when you're on social media and let's say that there's a war between Donald Trump and Elon, what are they really fighting for? If they're going at each other, it's your mind that they're fighting for. the perception in your mind, the identity that you connect with, right? And so they need to utilize memes, subconscious programming, pneumatic warfare, narrative warfare, cognitive warfare to try to control how you think. And whoever can control how you think is the one who controls the future. So the very moment that you are overindulging in content, right, in social media, and you realizing that the new product is your perception, the new product is how you think itself, where they're rewiring you to make you loyal to one side or the other, or make you perceive things in one way or the other, that's a form of cognitive control, right? And cognition is our ability to think, critical think, right? Our ability to assess things at a higher level. You want clarity. Your critical thinking skills decrease. I seen X posted that yesterday. The more you use ChatGPT, you lose critical thinking, which means you're losing cognition. And so for me, I said cognition is the future. It's the number one asset that people need to focus on right now. How to put up a defense system for it so that you're not being controlled, your children are not being controlled, and you're not even realizing, like, you can take in a meme and you think it's entertainment and you don't realize that this is actually, right, changing the way you perceive the world and what you will accept in the world. So you have to be very careful. And so I say that cognition is the future, or then not only if I want to build out a company where I want to be able to have, of course, AI help us with the advancement of some of the things that we're going to be using, but it's really based around human intelligence and cognition, because it don't matter what religion you are, it doesn't matter what sex you are, what race, what class, everybody is susceptible to it. But the problem is the people at the bottom are higher on that list of being vulnerable, because when you are stressed out and you have anxiety, which comes from poverty, right, which comes from overconsumption of bad information, it makes you easier to be brainwashed because you're seeking help. So the CIA shows that, like, when you can essentially shift somebody's nervous system into like danger and they become fragmented, then automatically that they're seeking help, they're seeking stimulation, they're seeking stability. And so that moment that you're feeling that fear and you're feeling dysregulated, they'll give you something to re-regulate you. So this is where the Stockholm syndrome comes from. Same person that kidnaps you is the same person that comforts you. So they would take you off your pivot, and then they're going to be the ones to put you back on square. You're going to thank them for it, not even realizing this is automatic things. And this is what the Department of Defense has classified as one of the most relevant dangers to society in the 21st century. Cognition, right? The perception that's in the human mind, the brain itself. So again, I know that's a long way of telling you all this is why I've been focused on giving us nootropics and adaptogens. Now it's a super trend. Everybody's shifting over. But we've literally had lion's mane and cordyceps, right? We've been pushing on our community for the last 10 years, right? To make sure that we're prepared at a higher cognitive level, because when your cognition is low, your consciousness is low. And you can be easily swayed in the wrong direction, right? So now my goal is to build out, AI systems that help us with our cognitive rituals daily, that connects us, right? So that the new social media can be gamified with cognition, in the sense to where it's not harming us, it's actually helping us the more we use it, or anytime that we use it, right? And of course, social media is no longer about social. I heard Gary Vee talking about this, the interest media, to where you're curating what you're interested in. But it's not even that, because you don't know if that's your true interest or somebody's controlling, right, what you're interested in. So I want it to be cognitive media with something that increases, right, your consciousness every time that you use it. And it's something that can start to have an effect on this mental health paradigm where people have anxiety, depression, right, suicidal ideation and things of that nature that's going on with them. And people have not figured out how to fix it. So everything we're doing is a solution. So again, with that being said, I've been studying history. And as I've been studying history, as I've been going deeper into my journey of building out this mushroom coffee brand, this adaptogen cognition beverage company, right, where we have multiple products and each one of them is good for you. And we've been on our coffee tour, which is really a cognition tour, right, to create and establish new rituals for us. because this is something that I think and I know every single person needs. So we went to Boston, Oakland, New York, right? And we had small, intimate groups of people that came together, and we had high-level conversations. Now, what does this do? High-level conversations is always about stimulating cognition and higher consciousness. So it taps into your neocortex, which is your higher order thinking, so that you're not just operating on one level. You have to think in multiple levels and multiple tiers. This activates your thinking brain, and when your thinking brain is activated, right, it's called type 2 thinking. Type 1 is your automated brain, where you're just taking in stimuli, you're taking in information, and it's going past, right, your defense system and going directly into your subconscious. But your thinking brain is the one that is filtering information. So the more higher order thinking that we do, and the more our neocortex is stimulated, and the more high-level conversations we have, the more in control we are of ourselves, which means the freer we are, right? Because freedom today looks different than freedom tomorrow. It's not just about whether you can control your body. Can you control how you think and the way you even think about your body, right? Because they've trained us into so many desires that people think that they know what they truly believe, but they don't. You don't know if these thoughts are yours. You don't know if the world has swayed you into a social marketing campaign utilizing neuroscience, social engineering, cognitive warfare. And to be quite frank, who the hell has time to be thinking about all that? So I wanted to think about what is our daily things that we can do that empower us. What is our daily rituals, right? So develop the routine of a cognitive stack to where, like, I can wake up and I can think and speak like this because I'm constantly learning. But we focus on neuro-adaptation. And neuro-adaptation is essentially, like, let's say if you're taking nootropics and you feel really good, like your mind feels really clear and it feels like you're in flow. All right, neuro-adaptation is when your brain stays that way, even without the nootropics, right? So you're always going to next levels. So, right, in Keyism, right, we focus on neuro-adaptation. So my brain has changed over time. It has evolved because when I take the nootropics, I'm learning, right? I'm exercising, I'm exposing myself to different things, I'm reading. And this makes sure that my brain stays at a high level to where I don't just feel good one day, but then I can't get back to that self and I feel drained. So it's similar to like utilizing AI, but if you're utilizing AI and you're not learning with it and executing, then AI is your brain, and your brain is actually decreasing in ability and becoming more reliant. Right? So, yeah, you sent a great text, or yes, you had a great script that you could read off and it made you feel good on social media, but can you do that in your natural flow? So neuroadaptation is making sure that you actually get to that level, right? To where that becomes your standard. And so by taking in things like lion's mane and cordyceps, this will allow you to start developing neuroadaptation. And when you pair that with other activities, journaling, reading, exercising, right, exposure and execution. So Supermind will be giving out an entire, and it's going to be on our email thread, so everybody who invest in a product for themselves, then they will be getting these emails that's going to be giving you breakdowns about these cognitive rituals. And you all are going to be the ones that get access to these spaces that we curate, because we're going to be working with businesses around the globe, right, for all our supers that's in our community. Right, so once you become a Supermind and you're in a community, you get access to the events for free that we do, right? As long as we have space for them. So we may be planning out one in San Francisco soon. We want to go through the whole entire country, and even when I tour, we're going to be doing these coffee tours, these cognitive tours, I should say. But these are going to be like 50 to 100 people. It's not going to be that many people because it gives me a space to really connect with people. And that's what it's really about. Like, loneliness is the epidemic of our time, and connection is, right, that way of changing that. But beyond connection, we need community, right? And so I don't want us looking for saviors. I want our systems to become our saviors so you can save yourself. And one of those systems is your rituals, right, your daily habits, so that you exist in this frequency to where you have clarity. And in that clarity is where you find success. I put in a note the other day in my high-level club, and I'm asking people, like, how do you feel about the future of digital assets? And your clarity when it comes to your financial future. And a lot of people are saying they don't feel really good. And that's disheartening for somebody who's been teaching it a long time. Like, y'all know I got Infinite Wealth Strategies, where we teach people tokenomics, digital assets, and you're a part of a community. And that's very important. So I want to now make that available to people that normally could not afford it, right? It's a program that was $444, and we did that on purpose because we wanted people that really, right, take their, I would say, financial future serious. But I think people are burnt out. People are burnt out from learning, which you shouldn't be. People are burnt out from trying to figure things out. And I think the easier we make it for entry level, right, and you pairing that with cognitive rituals that make you think clear, and we also giving you step by step to where you don't have to figure things out. Not in that sense. I want you to save your cognition for things that matter, because in the future, you're going to have your cognition clear, because you're going to be utilizing AI second brain systems to do thinking for you. Right? So that's fine. Now, the question becomes is, okay, once you have all of this cognition free, this can be a harmful thing or it can be helpful. It can only be harmful if you don't have vision and clarity on direction of life. If you don't know yourself. You know what I'm talking about? But if you know yourself, then you're good. Because when you have too many options, it actually destroys your ability to make good decisions. So, our goal is to, help our community gain clarity, right? Again, so where you can be stimulated at a higher level, and in that clarity, you develop a level of complexity that makes it harder for you to be taken advantage of. It makes it harder for you to, have anxiety and stressed out and feeling like you don't have control over your future. You know what I'm talking about? So I want to have coffee with you. I want to build with you. And if we go back to ancient times, then we realize that liquor was the thing that replaced coffee, because the liquor industry started to lobby Hollywood. And when they lobbied Hollywood, they put it in all the movies, the scenes, and they connected it to masculinity and manhood. And that was never original manhood. Original manhood was not getting drunk. Original manhood was not taking in toxins. Original manhood knew the ways of the earth. Original manhood took stimulants and it took adaptogens and nootropics, right? That's original manhood. That's what men always did. They figured out ways to stimulate their minds so they can think clear, right? Because original manhood is intellect and higher consciousness. And anything and anybody in the world that tells you to not do that is a lie.